Hello everyone and welcome back to the Calham64 LP Retrospective, and in this episode we're going to be looking at my LP of Toy Story 2 Buzz Lightyear to the Rescue for the PS1. And can I just say straight up from the start, much like, with the one in the previous episode when I looked at Earthworm Jim, this too has most of the assets not completely available, on the hard drive when I look back on it, for all the behind the scenes of how this was made. I think it seems to be, according to my theory or so, that as soon as Earthworm Jim was made, that is when I was like, right, I'm going to keep everything really when it comes to the images, Photoshop files, outro elements, even the screen capture recordings, which I honestly don't need anymore because I don't use, Camtasia Studio 8 as much, so there's no need for it. But they still exist for Toy Story 2, so how about we have a look really quick and just see what still exists? I don't know, I just think it'll be fun for behind the scenes. First off, here's the banner that I made for this LP. As you can see at the minute it says Calham64 Let's Plays, given the fact I wanted it to be very similar to the actual, Toy Story logo and stuff going on. And when you crop it down, that is basically what the border looked like, when you looked at it on YouTube, when you went to the channel and stuff, that's what appeared. So that's cool. Here is the actual LP icon itself, where basically I changed my profile pic to that, which I suppose it looks okay, but honestly it's pointless putting Let's Plays on there, I find. Calham64 would have just been fine enough because that's big and presentable. Because, when you make a profile pic, you really want to make things so that they're visible from a distance, really. I mean, it's a profile pic at the end of the day. It's a tiny little square at the corner, You want that to be as visible as you can. So, of course, if you have small text on there or so, it's not really a good idea in my opinion, so yeah. Here are pictures of the text that was used, for the outro and links going on where it says next, previous and playlists, again, given the Toy Story 2 theme, rather nice. And the one other thing I'd like to talk about, I might as well go on about later because right now I just currently want to talk about, how the LP was made and stuff and what I thought of it. So now, instead of jumping into the behind the scenes of all the folders and crap, let's actually jump into the LP itself. Let's go! Before that though, if you can hear a couple of audio skips in the music of this game, sorry about that. When I was recording this, I was recording it on a PlayStation with the original Toy Story 2 disc, the one that I've grown up with, and I've played that an awful lot, as a kid and now, meaning it's got a bit scratched, so there'll be a couple of audio skips here and there, but it's nothing too bad I hope, but, I just thought I'd point that out. Continuing on. Okay, so this is the LP series where I had to return to the emulator, which was known as EPSXE going on. Yes, even though I did use emulation a lot from time to time, they were mainly stuff like Visual Boy Advance and Cake of Fusion, if you will, when trying to do Earthworm Jim, because, it's for the sake of Mega Drive. But I had to return to it and use it in a new way, really, or at least just familiar to, the same way it was used when I did Crash Bandicoot 3. Where, again, I still had, my, what was it? No, actually, I had a new laptop during that time. Yeah, fair enough, fine. I thought for a second, though, I still had my old crappy Windows Vista laptop, but no, I literally had, my new laptop and stuff going on, so it meant that I could run the latest plugin for EPSXE and have everything on display and running smooth, so that was rather nice. It felt really nice, though, to come back to it in a way, because Toy Story 2 was just a game that kind of I don't know, I felt like playing it after Earthworm Jim. I think it was mainly just because one time when I was making Earthworm Jim, I was bored, and I was looking just through my games to play, and I just found a game called Toy Story 2 Buzz Lightyear to the Rescue, for the PS1, which I hadn't touched in such a long time. I mean, I played that a lot as a kid growing up. So I just felt like playing it again, and I just became really addicted and ended up playing through the majority of it. I ended up actually playing through the entire game, and that made me decide to do an LP of it, because you see, that's the thing that I do, honestly, when it comes to making LPs. When I decide to do an LP of the game, before literally deciding, oh yeah, I want to do this game just because I'm motivated for it, I literally play through the whole entire game myself in my spare time, and find things along the way for me to talk about, just so I can structure each episode and stuff going on. I don't really have a script or anything, as this is all, through live commentary, and I just prefer it that way, really, because it's more natural to me. It doesn't really feel like a show or anything. It's just me playing a game and having a good time, saying what's on my mind, if you will. So that's the way I work. So I did that with Toy Story 2. All the levels that I played through, on each level, I always looked at things, found things to say, listened to the music, thought it was pretty damn awesome from Swallow Studios. And then I just realised at the end of the game, yeah, this game is great for LP materials, and that was it. I was like, yeah, cool. My next LP after Earthworm Jim is just going to be Toy Story 2 because I'm motivated for it and I found so much stuff to talk about. That's literally how it works for me in every single LP. And I remember this one being very well laid back. Toy Story 2 Buzz Lightyear to the Rescue for the PS1 is not really that much of a challenging PS1 game. In fact, it's very casual to play through, you know, given the fact that there's no, like, well, there are some intense moments, I suppose, but it was completely different, you know, compared to when I played through Donkey Kong Country for the Super Nintendo, and then Earthworm Jim, because then going to Toy Story 2, a game that was, you know, to my childhood and stuff, was a nice welcoming treat for me when trying to play it, and that's what I liked about it. All I literally did through the levels was just go through stuff and collect the Pizza Planet tokens and the coins, and, you know, not have to worry about dying or losing too much health or anything, because that was been with Earthworm Jim. I always had to make sure I had enough ammo, some health, you know, keep the commentary going and stuff, given the fact I chose to do Earthworm Jim through live commentary. This one was more casual, if you will. When looking back at this LP now, though, it's really crazy to find, you know, how I do things nowadays compared to when I did them back then. Because, you know, when I was speaking earlier or so, basically saying that I was using EPSXC, that meant that in order to play the game, I was using my blue USB adapter, you know, for PlayStation controllers, and then try to configure that with the emulator just so I could use my PlayStation controller, because I didn't have the capture card. Whereas nowadays, I literally, it's so different, it's unbelievable, you know. Nowadays, I have an Elgato Game Capture HD that I hook everything up to. I have a SCART to HDMI video converter. I use RGB SCART cables from the original systems, meaning that, you know, basically I can record games from the actual original systems now. I no longer have to worry about using emulators. Everything you see nowadays is recorded from original systems. So that's rather swell. I remember through the majority of this LP, though, I always kept saying how Toy Story 2 Buzz Lightyear to the Rescue was very similar to Banjo-Kazooie, and yeah, honestly, it is. I will not disagree with that also. There are so many elements, you know, in Toy Story 2 that are very similar to Banjo-Kazooie, whether it be, you know, that the Pizza Planet tokens are, in other words, jiggies from Banjo-Kazooie, the fact that collecting the coins is the same to the musical notes, and some of the worlds and the way they're designed in that are kind of similar in that sense. Except obviously, in my opinion, Banjo-Kazooie is far more difficult and challenging when compared to Toy Story 2. Toy Story 2 is very easy, but you already knew that because I talked about that earlier. I remember making the thumbnails for this series was different, and I rather enjoyed doing this actually, because I always found that, you know, the loading screens that you see for all the levels that you go to in Toy Story 2 were quite nice, given the fact, you know, it had a background of the levels, some image in the front, and then the top bits is what the name of the level was and stuff like that, you know. I basically tried to capture that sort of same feeling with the thumbnails. Given the fact that they looked effective as a loading screen, I thought they'd look effective, you know, when looking at it as a thumbnail to drawing, like, the viewer's attention into wanting to click the video. So that's literally what I did. You know, for each thumbnail that you see, it would say the name of the level at the top, but below it, on the red bar, would show the episode number. And then the actual character would be to the right out, you know, with like an outer glow going on with white. And then the background was literally a screenshot of the level I was playing through in EPSXE in the episode. And then literally just dimmed down just for effect and stuff. Just, I don't know. I remember that being really fun to make, and they look pretty effective, I suppose. I think it's... the placement in that is okay, really, given the fact that, you know, the characters are to the right, and what I explained in Metroid Fusion of the 2014 version, you know, of this LP retrospective, that was when I explained that the fact that, you know, when you make thumbnails, you don't really want to put the episode number to the bottom right, because that's where the timer is, and it covers it up, making it completely obsolete. So, I don't know. I like the placements. Except for the grand finale, of course, which is basically just a picture of Woody and Buzz and stuff. And it says grand finale highlighted in outer glow, like as if it's like some sort of casino or something, looking back at it now. And now I suppose I might as well talk about the thing that I mentioned at the very beginning of this episode, where I said, you know, about this certain folder that I would go through, because oh my god, this deserved to have its own section instead of just dedicated to at least a couple of seconds of me, you know, showing off little bits here and there. Okay. This is called the Alger Make folder, to be precise, and what this was how I made the outro to this series, and oh my god, what an ambitious freaking outro this was also. So I decided to basically use a lot more video editing and stuff, elements going on, and just clever ways really of how to make it more interesting and different, I suppose. And basically, the outro went like this, okay, from what you're seeing right now. It played a section of the episode and stuff going on, but in wireframe form. So of course, next, previous, and playlist would appear at the bottom, but the actual video of the episode that you saw, you would see it in an etch-a-sketch form, if you will. So, you know, it would all be like some sort of grey or black and white wireframes, making it look like it was an actual drawing on an etch-a-sketch. This was a pain in the ass to actually make, and let me run through this, okay, because I still have the actual text document which explains about this, which, funnily enough, I had a typo on. Instead of putting making a wireframe outro, it says McKaying a wireframe outro, which I haven't changed. I need to do that actually at some point. The text bar explained how I would make the actual wireframe itself, you know, I would say wireframe color removal, all this crap that you see here, which makes no sense to you probably, and then wireframe effect, which again has all this crap below here, which makes no sense to you. I'll run through this in a little bit of easier ways for you to understand though. So given the fact that Toy Story 2 was being played on an emulator, it meant that I could change some of the settings. One of the settings being on the EPS-XE, where what you could do is change the video, you know, instead of showing the actual colours around the screen, you could change it to an alpha channel, which basically means that everything goes black and white, and then you can see it all as wireframes. In fact, I made it all into wireframes that way. And what I literally did is I changed it to that setting and would play around in the level like that in EPS-XE while using my screen recorder. Where, if I head into the Alger Make folder and go to the wireframe renders, you can see all these MP4 files that have them, you know, all basically as just black and white videos of wireframes going on. So that's how those bits were made to begin with. There's even one of Rayman 2, which I did again, you know, when I showed off the teaser film, which was my next LP of Rayman 2. I did a wireframe version of that as well, where I literally played it on the N64 emulator in wireframe mode, and I'm going to explain what I did next in order to create, you know, the etch-a-sketch effect, if you will, instead of talking about all this rubbish right here, which makes no sense to you. Or actually, a quick correction, and I sadly don't really have this as a file to prove it or so, but when it was recorded in wireframe mode, the actual wires around the models and everything were in colour, so I literally had a way to, you know, to find a way to basically make it into black and white to make it more convenient for me, where if I refer back to the actual text file that I explained, that's where I explained all about this crap which makes no sense, where it explains about canvas color is white, and remover color is black, tolerance 10, softness 10, rest unchanged, and invert effect. That's literally the steps that I performed in order, you know, to achieve getting rid of the wireframe remove color, just so then I had this, you know, basically just black and white. And then the actual wireframe effects that became the etch-a-sketch look to it was, again, as follows. The canvas color had to be black, and then when you're using the remove color tool, I had to remove the black color, but as well as setting levels of the tolerance and softness, I also had to change the hue to 8, and then the defringe level to minus 100%. This is all very mathematical, isn't it? So that basically allowed, you know, the blackness around the video to go away, so that when it actually goes to the etch-a-sketch, it will just be some sort of outline going on, and hence that's how I achieved the etch-a-sketch look to it. The etch-a-sketch was basically, you know, just an etch-a-sketch picture put as like some sort of background, and then the video was put over the top. So yeah, that's how the outro was made for Toy Story 2, and this is honestly my most memorable thing when it comes to remembering the LP. So out of all the episodes that I've done and all the assets I created, it always just reminds me of the time when I made the wireframe outro, you know, to suit with an etch-a-sketch, if you will. That's just the thing that always comes to my head whenever I think of Toy Story 2, I don't know why. And that's all I have to say really about Toy Story 2 for the PS1. It was a fun LP back in 2015, it marked the very last time I ever used an emulator, you know, to record full LPs of games going on, because after that came capture cards. And that's what I'm going to be talking about in the next episode. So join me next time where I'm going to be talking about the next LP that came after this, which was Rayman 2 The Great Escape for the Nintendo 64. And oh man, okay, this is an LP that I remember, always. See you then. To see the next episode of this retrospective series, go to here. To see the full playlist of this series going on, go to here. To see the original LP of the one I have critiqued, go to here, or even consider subscribing to the channel by going to here instead. Thank you for watching.